So, hello everyone, and thank you.
Triple growth this year. Yeah, I'm seeing that. I'm definitely believe it or not. Let's go. We appreciate you. Last question. Where are you building out of?
We want to make. Okay, go ahead.
FDCPA, which is really basically for the majority, 99%, 95% of the time is going to be all collection agencies. It's the Fair Collection Practice Act. Some states have different rules and laws that actually bind creditors in the same capacity, but for the majority of people, you need to know that the FDCPA really truly is around collection agencies and the
We're
violations.
Not seeing your slide, Shar.
Oh, no, I haven't got there yet.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
My screen sharing?
Yeah.
Okay, so FDCPA really is against the collection agencies for the majority of the reasons. So the FDCPA is a federal law that protects consumers from harassment, deception, and unfair business practices for debt collection practices. It also enforces ethical conduct through the CFPB, which we're going to leave that off of the table for a little bit, and the FTC. I've never had to use the CFPB or the FTC, to be honest with you, because I use attorneys. So when I have an issue that I cannot get resolved in my office, my consumer goes to the attorneys. The most common violations for FDCPA are harassing improper call times, failure to validate the debt, ignoring cease and desist orders, and those are huge, and I'm going to focus a lot on that. And then threats or deception. Most common violations for the FDCPA involve 40% are harassment calls. That's kind of crazy when you think about having someone on the other end threatening you. We're going to have the police show up. We're going to take you to court. We're going to, by the way, if they threaten to take you to court and they don't do it within a 45-day time frame, my attorneys consider that a threat. And that's a violation in their opinion. Others include failing to mark and dispute, or ignoring refusals to pay. I want to comment a lot about these two things. I call them the CC violation and the E8 violation because that's the portion of the law, title, and section that they cover. For me, I do not quote laws. I don't truly research them. I know exactly what I need to know on each account I'm going for, and if I have a violation, I know what to look for. If there's something weird that comes up and I'm like, what is this or what happened, then I can call an attorney and talk to them about a different type of violation that I might be seeing. But for the most part, what I find in my office is failure to listen to the refusal to pay or the cease and desist that says, don't contact me, I'm not paying this debt any longer. And when you send a collection agency a letter and they get it and you have proof they received it and they continue to contact your client, phone calls, emails, text messages, mailed statements, anything they do to communicate with your client after they get the cease and desist, it's a violation. And it's just a very clear, blatant violation, not even up for dispute. You either did it or you didn't do it. And as long as you've captured the correspondence, that's the proof you need. So when you're sending your letters for these violations, when you're sending these letters to these companies on these accounts, in order to make sure you have a good violation, you have to be able to show the letter you wrote and the proof of delivery, the delivery that they received it, the certified mail. They received the certified mail and that they then communicated with your consumer. It's just black and white. There's no color to any of that.
So Shar, when you said that, like you don't quote laws in there. So I don't either when I do FCRA. So the attorneys in my case, they tell me they don't like that. They don't want us quoting actual laws in any type of letter. And I know, can you speak just a little bit on that? Because I know there's a lot of information out there surrounding that where people are like, oh yeah, quote this law in your letter, quote this law, quote that law. And that's really not good when you're actually working with attorneys, because the attorneys and my attorneys that I work with are like, we don't want you doing that. We don't want any laws quoted in any letter. So can you speak on that just a little bit?
Sure. So there's a couple of reasons that I understand, and power of attorneys are kind of going to fall into the line of what I'm about to tell you. An attorney, most consumers don't know all of the laws that these CROs want to quote in the letters. That's just information that a normal consumer off the street wouldn't know. That's number one. Number two, these need to look as if they are consumer-based letters, not because you're tricking anyone, but because they need to be looking like they're consumer composed letters. The next thing is, most attorneys do not want to take a letter that they can visually see came from a credit repair company that quoted a bunch of laws or came with a power of attorney, because it actually allows them to bring the CRO into the lawsuit. And then what happens is they get to open up the CRO's business. They get to start picking the CRO apart. It adds time to the actual case for unwarranted and unneeded information. So if you had to stop midstream and call and investigate Shar at CPR Credit Repair for the letter and the business practices she does, it opens my entire business and it makes me a part of the lawsuit. And I'm not willing to do that, you guys. I've got no dog in the fight other than to clean my client's credit up. I don't want to be a part of their lawsuit. So that's the reason we don't do it here, is because we're not lawyers. And so why are we quoting laws in our letters? It makes it 100% look like it came from a credit repair company. And that's the furthest thing away from what my attorneys want to be involved with. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yep, that totally does. Thank you.
Okay. Understanding communication and the violations. Debt collectors must cease communication if it is sent in writing. And sometimes even phone calls, stop calling me, and then you hang up and you've got it recorded. Those hold up too, so you know. But I send everything certified mail. I need the proof that it was delivered. And if it shows me still in transit at any point after I know the letter was received, I will have my client actually pick up the phone and call the company and say, hey, my name is Shar, and I sent you guys a letter in January, and I didn't get any kind of communication back. I just want to verify that you guys got my letter. And as long as they say, yes, we did, I notate the time, the date, and the representative I spoke to, and that's all my attorney needs to proceed, just so you know. So if someone, say, does not want to spend the money to do the certified mail, which I highly don't suggest, and you want to spend your time with your clients calling all of the collection agencies to see if they received the letter or not, I mean, obviously there's workarounds for that kind of thing. My suggestion is just pay the little bit of money each letter and get it sent, because the value of what you spend on the certified mail is going to come back to your office 100 times. And I'm going to explain that and show you. Okay.
So Tanya Alexander has a question.
Okay.
Do you have to tell them the call is being recorded?
For what part? If we're on a call, if they've called me and they addressed me telling me we're on a recorded line and this is an attempt to collect a debt, then we both understand we're on a recorded line. And I live in Idaho and work in Idaho, and we're a one-party consent state, so I'm the party that consents to the recording, and that's how we do it. But I don't know that you would necessarily keep that information, because you're not. If you're getting harassed and you pick up the phone and ask them to stop contacting you, I don't know if you have to say you're on a recorded line or not. That's a question for an attorney that you might be using in your office.
And each state has different laws regarding that.
Right.
So in Arizona, you don't have to say anything, but I would check your state
Correct.
and an attorney, like she says.
Okay,
Correct.
she said thank you. All right, go ahead and move on then.
Okay. So how to spot. Do I go back? Okay. How to spot. Sorry, guys. It's the medicine, I'm telling you. Okay, house spotting violations helps with client. If an FDCPA violation is found, your client may be entitled to permanent account deletion from the credit report, complete elimination of the debt, and a lot of times compensation back in the pocket of the consumer. And I'm going to comment a little bit about this because this is where you need to check with your states and you need to check with your ethics compliance rules and your city and state. Obviously, my office takes a portion of my client's settlement, and that's up front, and they know that going into this whole process with me, that if I find a violation and you use an attorney that my office has referred you to, at the end, if there's any kind of monetary compensation, that my office does take a percentage. And I've never had anyone choose not to sign. They're obviously able to do what they would like. A lot of clients are just happy to get the debt dissolved and the account removed from their credit report. They're not interested in a lot of times the money. But the money is, an added incentive, and it certainly is for the CRO. If they can take a few dollars on the back end, that helps compensate all that extra postage they feel that they spent. This is a way to help you. The other thing is this, and I just really want to side note and say this, Stephanie, is we all take enough money every month from every client to do credit repair. You should be doing your client a service and sending their stuff out certified mail, because if you think about it, $21 in postage to the credit bureaus, if you have a violation, that $21 comes back to you tenfold. If you have a letter that you need to send to, say, LVNV funding, and you spend $6.80 to send that, and you have a violation, and statutory awards are up to $1,000, and your client gives you a portion of an award, even $100 pays that $6.80 postage right there. So I think CROs have got this whole mindset backwards, Stephanie, that I got to spend the money on the certified mail. I'm only making $149 a month from that client, but you're only making $149 a month to click, send, click, send. What are you really doing for that client that you have so much out of pocket expenses that you cannot pay the certified mail on their behalf?
Yeah,
it just
I can
helps.
see that. So I have a different thought on certified mail, and I'm
Okay.
gonna share mine with you too, so that
Okay.
everybody gets different perspectives. I have never sent anything certified mail in 20 years, ever. Not at all, not a one single time. I do FCRA violations all the time. My attorneys don't require it. Now, on the flip side to that, I just don't do it. I've just never needed to do it, never felt the need to do it in credit repair or for my FCRA violations. However, for FDCPA violations, I feel like I probably would send it certified mail, because I feel like you would have to prove it here. Like, it's different for some reason with the FCRA. Like, my attorneys, they don't care about that. They don't need that. If we put it in the mail, we have a letter showing it, the bureaus scan it in. I mean, it's there. Like, you can subpoena that stuff. Like, but for
Correct.
FDCPA, I could kind of see where you would almost have to do certified mail. I've never done FDCPA, which is probably why I've never used certified mail.
So, Stephanie, I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to really change your thinking. And if you and I need to get on a call at another time and let me walk you through, seriously, I have probably 62 plus 6, 68 violations since the beginning of January, all FDCPA, every bit of them. And those are all at an attorney's office right now. I just sent 6 of them today. I send the letter out. My first letter will always be a refusal to pay. And that's where I catch the majority of my people's violations. I want to show you something really quick. I'm just going to show you, because I'm so old school. I still keep paper folders on every client because this is my visual. I have them in my rack, and I know that these people are up for review. Next week, these people are up for review. But here's my little guy, Juan. Love him. And he actually had, you can't see it. He had 9 collection agencies. We sent out 9 letters. We got 3 automatically removed, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, We got 6 FDCPA violations on 6 separate accounts. I got
so
credit
that is
management.
amazing. So that's
Yeah.
what I want to hear. So tell me about that, because I think that's what we all want to know about, is that
Okay.
when do you send those refusal to pay letters? Like, do you send it to all third-party collections? That's what I'm assuming.
Mhm. I do. It's the first letter in my process is the refusal to pay. It simply says, I noticed an account on my credit report. I am not paying you, and please don't contact me again for this account or any other account you might hold in your office under my name. And the
And
minute
that's
they
what they
can,
consider like a cease and desist.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
So instead of like me, I start off my process with like, I validate the debts with the collection agencies first. And I get deletions that way too.
Oh, sure,
But
sure.
I'm not picking up any kind of FDCPA violation, I guess, because I'm not sending like the refusal to pay. So then if they contact them, then there's an issue, right?
Correct. So I'm going to read this off really quick. Credit management called him and left him a voicemail. Puget Sounds emailed him and called him. Consumer Adjustments emailed him. Financial Assistance emailed him. LVNB Funding mailed him. And Omni marked the account disputed when they were not supposed to. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. So for all of those violations, Juan has 6 violations that now have been sent to the attorney, because they all communicated with my client after they were asked not to. So they got the letter. I tracked the letter. I could see everybody received their communication. And then after, within 48 hours, I give them 48 hours to log the letter and flag the account for no communication. And then after 48 hours, if they communicate on any level with my client in the first 35 days, then that's the violation. At about a 40-day time frame from sending my letters out, I have my clients pull the annual credit report and we do our first follow-up. That's when I'm looking if the account was marked in dispute inaccurately. Because I didn't dispute the account, I asked them not to contact me. So if they mark the account disputed after I send the refusal to pay, guess what, guys? That's a violation, because you're not disputing the account. You just ask them to simply stop communicating with you. So that's a violation. If they communicate with my consumer, violation, marked in dispute, communication, they violated. That's my first letter. And that gives me an opportunity for 2 different violations or a removal. If I have nothing and they didn't communicate and they didn't mark it in dispute, my next letter is a debt validation letter, Stephanie. And it's kind of specific. It's it has some specific verbiage in it. And then it also says, please only communicate with me via email. And if they communicate with my consumer outside of an email, or if they don't mark the account in dispute, I have an opportunity my second month for 2 additional violations. So my first 2 months, I'm looking for 4 different violations that I can use to get that account removed and the debt dissolved, and hopefully a few dollars in my consumer's pocket. So when I set up, I'm very strategic on what process I'm doing each step of the way. I'm not just click, click, send, click, click, send. That's not what I do. Every letter is strategically placed in its position, because at the 3rd month, or excuse me, the 3rd series of letters, because it's not 30 days, we all understand that. At the 3rd series of letters starts my first communication with the credit bureaus on anything that has been left on that credit report that I did not have a violation on. I start my FCRA and my additional FDCPA if needed in my first letter to the bureau. So that letter actually wraps the bureaus into a lawsuit if needed as well. So
yeah, because then you're tracking like the FCRA violations at that point.
Correct.
So the number 1, then, if I'm just tracking this for myself, and
Okay.
it probably helps everybody else as we're talking here. So number 1, we're sending that refusal to pay, or the cease and desist, basically.
Correct.
The cease and desist letter, and we are hoping they contact our client then in the next 35 days. Secondly, if we haven't picked up a violation there, we're going to send out a validation letter, but we're going to put in there that they can only use email.
Correct.
To communicate, email only. And then if they do email after that, then boom.
It's not a violation if they email you, but if they contact you any other
Oh,
method,
no,
that,
by not email. Yeah, any other,
Yeah.
like if they call or something like that.
Correct.
So, okay. And so when they call you, do they have to like record those calls? Do you train your clients
Nope.
like to
Mm-mm.
record the calls? So how does that work?
So my clients screenshot those, and this is my rule. Stephanie, you've gotten a call from Portfolio Recovery. Okay, that's great. In 2 days from now, it will register the date on that call. I need you to screenshot that phone call in 2 days at that phone number. I don't care if the caller ID says Portfolio Recovery or not, because you can call the phone number. And if they pick up Midland, LVNB, Portfolio Recovery, then that's all you need for the attorney. And here's the other thing. Most of the opposing counsel, they already know that they called you. They can see it in their system. They're just waiting for you to be able to prove it. And when you say you called my client at 3:12 Eastern time on Monday, February the 10th, they're going to know that they did that. And they're going to then know that your client captured the data.
Okay. Yeah, so I can definitely see the value in sending certified mail on these letters, especially that cease and desist first one. So that you can prove it. That makes good sense to me. All right, carry on. I feel like I'm starting to finally learn this stuff.
The other thing is I really do watch the balances. I do not ever want to put my client in a position to get a lawsuit after I'm touching their files, but it happens and we all know that, right? So I kind of dabbled in a little bit of arbitration funneling, and now I have my attorneys alleyway. So I have really found an opportunity for all of my files with all of my clients, with all of my accounts, to be able to have a deep dive done on them, because if there's anything wrong, I'm going to capture it, I'm going to find it, and I'm going to expose it. And that's what I do. So yeah,
And then you get it deleted, right? So that's
correct.
At the end of the day, it gets permanently deleted if you catch these violations, right? They cannot bring it back.
100%. But our office doesn't normally do FDCPA above $5,000 because there's something called a debt waiver. A debt waiver is normally up to $5,000 on an FDCPA. So if you've got a $10,000 LVNV funding and you have a violation and you bring it to exploit it, and the attorney picks up, the opposing counsel is probably going to say, okay, we'll remove the account, we'll dissolve $5,000, and the client still owes the remaining $5,000 and we want our money. So you got to watch what position you're putting your client in at every angle.
Okay,
and
so
I'm all
nothing
about my
over
consumer.
5K. Only
Correct.
things under 5K. Okay.
And that's just a solid rule on my end. It's what helps me sleep at night.
Okay, here's some questions for you. Cedric said refusal to pays are gold. Okay.
Is that my
looking
boy,
at
Cedric Carr?
Yes, Cedric Carr. That this is true.
Love them.
Brenda said if you state to only email and they send something in the mail, is that a violation?
Yes. Yes. I want to be clear on something, and I'm going to side note again. I have two separate, I work with a few different attorneys, and I have two different attorneys that take files for this. One will say, Shar, I won't take it because if they communicated with the debt validation in the mail, it's not a violation. And I have another attorney says, oh, yes, it is. Outside of the 30-day rule, it is. The first 30 days, they have to, by law, send it in the mail. But if you 2 years after the fact ask Midland to validate the debt and do it by email, and they send you a paper statement in the mail, my attorney goes after that all the time. So it all depends. Every attorney does something different from their own personal experience and what has worked in their office. I never argue with the attorney. If he says, Shar, this isn't for me, then I take it to the next attorney and I'm like, hey, is this something you'll take? So that's really what it is. Everyone has their specialty and what they're most comfortable with in their practices. So you just find yourself resources, is my suggestion, is get yourself more than one attorney if you're going to go this route, because different attorneys take different violations and they see them differently.
Okay, Kendall has some questions. Is this only for third-party collectors?
Yes. So
Okay.
FDCPA is the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act. It governs collection agencies normally. California has something called the Rosenthal Act, and when you do certain letters to them as a creditor, like Discover, Bank of America, US Bank, they're also bound by certain rules under the FDCPA. I think one of the North Carolina or South Carolina, I've heard. But I don't work outside of my states that I'm licensed in, so I don't know about a bunch of other rules and laws in other states because I'm really kind of weirdly compliant like that. I don't take nationwide consumers. I am registered and bonded in certain states. And then I do have a trust account set up with my buddy Robbie Sigmund at KredZoo, to where if I'm in a position to take files from other states, we run it through his escrow company, and then I take files that way as well. And that's all on the up and up with compliance. So he holds the money for me to work on a client, and everything is ran under his licensing protection. And then I can do a client in Florida if I wanted, but I don't necessarily do that, guys, because I have enough people where I live.
Yeah, okay. Well, we love weirdly compliant zeros. That's what we
So-
like around here. So then there's some follow-up questions. There's quite a few more questions. So let's try to get through these real quick so you can get into the other.
While you're doing that really quick, let me just make a comment super quick. Cedric and I have been doing this same thing for many years, and we bounce stuff off each other all the time. And when I originally started going nothing but pre-litigation 6 years ago, I was doing the refusals to pay, but then my clients weren't keeping the statements and recording the call logs, etc. And then Cedric posted something about a year ago, and he's like, no, Shar, this is really the best way to go. And I picked it back up, and it's been just crazy in my office ever since. So really, when you have a veteran telling you something, I would suggest you listen, especially if it's for free, because we are doing it because it's what we do for a living. And we're not out there trying to grab as much money as we can. We're out here trying to educate our consumers and other of our peers the right way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, trust me, I'm gonna be trying this as soon as we get off the phone here. I have some clients to go try these out on. So I'm hoping you're gonna share that letter with me.
I will. Absolutely, I will.
All right. So when Kendall also wants to know, when do you start to dispute with the bureaus? I think you said it was like the third letter. You first do refusal to pay, validation letter, and then it's a bureau letter after that, right?
It is. It's a bureau letter after that, because I'm going to tell you why. I want to capture as much violations or deletions in the first 2 series of letters that I can, because by the third letter, I don't want every account on that letter. If I can pick it apart and get it off my plate in the first 2 series of letters, that's what I want to do. And the other thing is, if you start disputing things with the credit bureaus and they automatically mark those accounts in dispute, you lose that opportunity for the violation down the road. Because if you dispute with the credit bureau and they mark it in dispute, and then you go to LVNV funding, it's already been marked in dispute. What are you looking for?
Got it.
Because here's the deal, guys. In the real world, a collection agency has no responsibility to validate any debt to you after the first 30 days. I promise you, that's the rule.
Yeah.
And when they do, it's out of graciousness or out of them trying to collect their money. They don't have an obligation to any debt validation. So please get that out of your mind. It's the first 30 days that account is with the collection agency that they have a requirement to uphold the debt validation. After that, they do not.
Right. And that's a lot of times why when you do validation letters or verification letters to third-party collection agencies, you don't get a response because they literally don't have to respond. Sometimes they do. Sometimes you get a deletion letter instead, in response. Sometimes you get a lot of things. You get a whole stack of papers.
But I'm not looking for a response. I'm looking for them to fail to mark the account disputed, or if they do communicate, that they fail to email it to my consumer.
Yeah, so that's what you're looking for, is to catch them in that violation. Do you dispute online and via mail, or only via mail?
Correct. I only do via mail. I don't have the capacity in my life or the energy to sit there all day long and go to TransUnion, Experian, Equifax and start doing the disputing. I want it tangible. I want to be able to know I can prove to my attorney what letter I sent and what date I sent it on and what date it was received. I've heard so many back and forths that you take some rights away when you use the online portal or the online access. And I guess that would be a preference between you as the CRO and your client and the attorney you may be working with. I'm hesitant to do anything like that because I'm accessing the consumer's Experian report without them being in my office next to me, knowing what I'm doing for them. It puts me at risk. And I just don't want that exposure. And I just am old school. I want to see it. I want to know it. I want to feel it. And there are a lot of people that go in there to do the online disputing. And I guess I would say if you work with an attorney, ask your attorney how they feel about this.
So I'll tell you what I have used online disputing
Okay.
for, and to give a different kind of answer to that question too. I agree. I'm old school. I'm going to send a letter. That's how I like to do it. But occasionally I will do the online disputes, but it's typically for somebody that's in a time crunch for a mortgage and they
Yes.
already have a letter of some sort that's proving whatever it is. And I'm not really looking to pick up an FCRA violation on it by sending a letter. So if they have something that says, okay, this 30-day late was an error and, you know, they don't want a rapid rescore or the mortgage company doesn't want to do it or whatever might be the case, I can do it on the online and have it, sometimes it'll be fixed in like 2 to 3 days. When you have the proof, you do it online, you can get those done really fast that way. So if you have that kind of proof of something or a deletion letter or just some kind of proof to happen right away, that's what I utilize that for. But that's really the only time that I utilize online disputing.
So I will tell you, I used to be the queen of online disputing pre-COVID. Pre-litigation credit repair. I did. That's what I did. And boy, I would get a letter back from TransUnion overnight that says 27 items deleted. Yeah. But then when I started doing the pre-litigation credit repair and all of the difference of you lose some of your consumer rights when you do it online kind of stuff, it kind of made me feel a little weird. But yes, I am not opposed to doing it in that situation, Stephanie, 100%.
Yeah, so it's just more of a case by case thing when you're working with clients, you guys. It's never just a one size fits all kind of thing in credit repair. Once you've been in the industry long enough, like I always call it triage, right? I triage every client. Like, what are the things that have to be done right away? You know, what are the things that can be left for a little bit? What are the things we're going to settle or pay? You know, we just kind of go through a process and everybody's process is different because everybody's credit is different. So
I 100% agree.
Yeah. So you'll learn that once you've been in the business long enough, you do learn that and you learn that not everybody is a good client too.
I say your credit is like your DNA and no two people have the same one. Even married people with the same accounts on their credit report do not have the same credit score or the same data that's being reported.
Yep. So Sandra has a question.
Hey, Sandra.
Does any of this matter if the account is charged off?
So a charge off is with the creditor and the FDCPA governs just the collection agency. So if you have a zero balance Citibank charge off credit card that got sold to portfolio, it will work on the portfolio. But an FDCPA violation is strictly for collection agencies for the majority of states.
Yep. Third party.
Correct.
Okay. So a charge off, what we call, Sandra, a charge off, we consider a charge off from the furnisher of the account, and a collection agency is a third party debt buyer.
And Sandra, you can always message me behind the scenes. That doesn't change. So I've answered some questions before for you. So anytime you need anything, reach out to me. All
right. So Kendall, oh, that's a recording thing.
I don't know how to turn that off. I'm literally trying to figure that out right now.
Is a referral to the attorneys you use possible? Great info. Would love a copy of the Zoom recording too, if possible.
What was the first part of the question?
So they just want to know if you can give us a referral to the attorneys that you use. The attorneys that you use for your FDCPA violations, if you can provide their information.
Okay.
And they loved your information so far and would love a copy of the Zoom recording. And we do send out the replay tomorrow. We always send out the
Nice.
replay the next day. We are recording this.
So my answer to your question on the attorneys is some of my attorneys don't want a bunch of CROs contacting them. And so really it would be a case-by-case basis. If you called me and said, hey, Shar, I think I've got something. Do you have a referral for me? I would partner you with the best attorney. I'm not really interested in giving out a bunch of phone numbers or names to my attorneys anymore because they get influxed with a bunch of CROs who want to pick their brain for an hour on a phone call or want to tell them that they have the case of the year and it's really not anything at all. And so until I kind of feel more comfortable, Stephanie, if you called me and said I need an attorney, I would send you someone right away. But I'd have to know that, you know, if someone off the street called me and said, Shar, I think I've got something. Could you help me take a look at it? And if I think it is something, I will absolutely hand you off to an attorney. I just don't feel comfortable giving all of my resources up because I don't want my attorneys bombarded like I know they have been in the past. I got a phone call from one of the top attorneys in the United States, and he was like, hey, remind me again why you sent that person to me. And I was like, I've watched him behind the scenes. He said he needed an attorney. He said, not only is he not licensed, but he was trying to pick my brain to start doing pro se work for other consumers in New York, where he doesn't even have a license to do credit repair. So there's just that kind of thing that happens. And I just want to be, I'm not a gatekeeper for the attorneys, but I need to make sure that you are of someone who's going to use their time wisely and send them files and cases that are valuable to everyone.
Okay, so do this instead. Maybe if you can share your information, Shar, and if you guys think you have a case on this, I mean, you can. Is it okay if they contact you and just talk?
Absolutely, 100%.
Just share your info in the chat for them, and then Cedric said, when you do a refuse to pay letter, just say I refuse to pay, nothing else. Any other verbiage may be misunderstood, and they will mark your report disputed.
Correct. And I'm going to piggyback on that, Cedric. You're so smart. Thank you for bringing that up. And that is the truth. These CROs, us as CROs want to be like, I know all of this stuff and I'm going to put it on paper and I'm going to let that collection agency know I'm smart. Nobody cares. Here's the thing. That letter needs to be very basic and to the point. I am not paying this debt. Stop contacting me. Don't put things like, I don't recognize this debt, I'm not paying it, because then that gives them a door to open up to send you some communication that shows you how this debt belongs to you. So it's very basic. I see an account, I am not paying the account, don't contact me, bye. That's it.
Okay. All right, so we have like only 13 minutes left, so we're gonna have to kind of get moving because we do end these on time. And then we'll get to a couple questions at the end. So go ahead.
So the Rosenthal Act is what I was talking about, that some states have different rules that regulate the creditors as well. Sajda, this would be something that you would want to know if you work in one of those states. So in California, they have the Rosenthal Act, which permits sending a refusal to pay letter to the original creditor. And if they contact you at that point or mark it in dispute, then that's a violation on a creditor as well. And I think that there may be 3 or 4 or 5 of those states out there. You would just have to check with the rules of the state that you provide service in. E8 violation, this is great. This is where you ask for a validation of debt and they don't mark it disputed. So that's a violation. Or in my case where I said, please don't communicate with me any other way than email. Like I don't get mail. I live in a sketchy neighborhood. I don't have access to an email, or excuse me, I don't have access to text message capability, whatever you put in that letter. When they send you communication outside of the email, that's normally a violation. And when they fail to mark the account disputed, that's a violation. Okay. So it must label the account disputed. Failure to do so violates the FDCPA. 35 days they have to update it. And here's where I'm going to throw something out there. I know we have a time crunch. I have 2 different attorneys that take 2 different types of files from me. One says I cannot take the file unless it shows an updated date after your letter was received and they failed to mark it in dispute. And my other attorney, she says, I don't care. They got the letter. It was their job to update that profile, not the consumer's. It's not the consumer's responsibility. If they didn't update that account and they didn't mark it disputed, I'll take that. So that's where different rules come in with different attorneys. So key documentation for FDCPA disputes, and this is important. I'm going to run through this, but this is important. You got to have proof that they received it. You got to have proof of the original letter, and you got to have proof of the violation. Did they communicate? Did they fail to mark it in dispute? Did they mark it in dispute? Those things you have to be able to have tangible proof. In my situations for what it is we do, I can't tell an attorney that I sent a refusal to pay and they marked it in dispute. He's going to ask me where my proof is that they got it and where my proof is that of the letter. So you got to have your evidence, guys. I build a paper trail with every single file and every single account. I'm building a paper trail. That's all I'm doing. I'm hoping for a deletion. But if I cannot get it deleted, I have a paper trail of everything I've done for that client that I can send the attorney at any given time. Okay. And then I send it up with a consent to communicate is the last thing I have my client do is send me a consent to communicate. So when I send that file over, my attorney legally can communicate with the consumer. Okay. To key documentation for FDCPA disputes, to strengthen the case, it should include a credit report or the collection letter, a dispute or refusal letter, proof of delivery. Now, here's the thing, Stephanie, if you send a letter to the credit bureaus and you challenge 5 accounts and 3 of them are collection agencies and you're disputing it and those are failed to mark in dispute and you have no proof that you sent them a letter, but you can see the other 2 creditors updated it or got your investigation, you can prove, like especially in court, you can prove that the bureaus got your letter. They just didn't do what was right for the accounts. But if you can prove that they got your letter because of any indication on that credit report from any account in that letter, that holds up. Just not an FDCPA. And that's the difference, I think.
Yeah, I see that.
Updated credit report to show unresolved disputes. I do annual credit report, you guys. That's where I get my data. That's what I do. I'll look at a smart credit report the first month, and then I use all annual credit reports because that's where the data, legal data is at. And I want the legal data because my attorneys are taking these to court or taking these to opposing counsel, and they're showing them, look what we have. We don't want an opposing counsel to come back and say that data was from a monitoring service and it's not actually the real data because it didn't transfer over correctly. The real data is actually found on the annual credit report. Okay. What to avoid with FDCPA disputes. This is where Cedric comes in. Don't use the word dispute in a refusal to pay. Don't threaten. Don't act smarter than we should be acting, meaning don't be quoting a bunch of laws. It doesn't make anybody look more important. Quoting incorrect legal references. Avoid overusing template letters. Guys, we don't ever submit the same letter twice. We can send trillions of letters and never have the same letter twice, whether the font changes, the verbiage changes, all of it, okay? Benefits to you and your client. So again, it strengthens the trust. This is where I build my reputation. This is why people come to me. This is why my day is busy from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and sometimes on Saturdays is because it's all word of mouth. People are like, Shar got my repo removed. Shar got 5 LVNV fundings removed. You got to go call this girl. And that's how it works in my little community where I live. You provide legal pathways for potential compensation. Take a percentage of my client's monetary compensation. I've had some pretty big awards in my office. I've had
What is the percentage that you take?
My office takes 50%.
50%.
Yes.
Okay.
Now there are some
What's
cases
an
that I have.
average FDCPA case that you would settle?
So I have an attorney that does not pay the client anything. I have an attorney that will pay a $500 statutory award, and I have an attorney that pays the normal $1,000. It all honestly depends, but it's up to $1,000. And that's honestly, if I had a single mom with 3 kids come in my office and I got her a couple $100, I'm not taking anything of that. That doesn't seem right or fair, especially since she paid me for the credit repair. So all of the extra I get from compensation from the files is just added extra bonus. It pays for all of the extra things that my office gets to do. Like I help the homeless community. We help the domestic violence shelter. I pay all of that out of my pocket. So when I get that extra money, it goes towards projects like that we get to do.
Nice. Okay, but that's good. I mean, that's definitely a good revenue source, you know, even if
Yeah.
they're smaller awards.
Yeah.
Definitely a good revenue source. So we have about 6 minutes left. Jason says, how many days after they receive the request did you say that you wait until you pull the annual credit report for verification?
So if my client gets responses in the meantime, that's an automatic violation, but I do my follow-ups about 40 days after I know that the letters have been received. So between 35 and 40, I'll pull my annual credit report. I don't want to pull too early. I don't want to not give every opportunity time-wise for them to fail my clients. I have some clients that we sent letters in November that are just now starting to get communications from, and those are violations. So I don't ever take anything.
So 35 days, Shar, from the date that they were received, that you know
Correct.
those got received by their office.
Correct.
That starts.
So
with
it's about
35.
40 days after I send my letter.
Okay. And then another question, what type of lawsuit is the attorney filing? Sandra would like to know.
An FDCPA lawsuit.
It's just
And
a-
I want to be very clear on something. A lot of this never goes to a court. This is all handled between the two parties, my attorney and the company's attorney, and it's all pretty much done via email with a demand letter. Hey, you violated my client. Here's what we have, and we'd like this much compensation and my attorney fees paid. And then they go back and forth. The litigation part comes when it's an FCRA violation and there's some big money to be had. But FDCPA are all normally pretty much demand letters that just are handled between attorneys.
Okay. And then Kelly said, so you have a fee for credit repair and then additional compensation from these violations.
Correct.
Fair. Yep. Which is great.
And I outsource this too. I take files from other CROs and I do my process for them. And then I do a legal review. And if I have a violation that I've captured, I've got all of my documentation. I've got access to the attorneys, and I just move your file and your client right over to the attorney. And then you guys work it out. And then I do the outsourcing, I do file prep. There's all sorts of wonderful things that we can do. I mentor, I coach, I have a course out on all of this. So I'm an open book. If you guys want to ask me anything, I'm not going to let you monopolize my time, as meaning I'm not going to give you hours of my time every week. If you have a question here and there, other than that, you are more than welcome to schedule some training time with me.
Kelly wants to know how much your course is, and I'm sure everybody probably would like to know that. So how much is your course and how long is the course?
Well, you know,
guided.
The course is, I think, 24 modules. It's like step-by-step, everything you need to know, FDCPA, how to audit an annual credit report, how to write a letter, what not to say, what to say, and like the whole thing. It's like laid out in black and white. And it was $997, but I'm thinking to take a couple $100 off of that for this class tonight. What do you think, Stephanie? I didn't even think about that. What do you think is a good price to reduce it by?
I don't know. Why don't we ask?
I'll tell you what, I would do it for $697 for anybody who's registered in this class tonight. I would do, and then $697, I did give you an hour of mentoring with it.
Well, that seems pretty fair to me.
So Shar, if you give me a link to that, so if someone may have left this, I can send that out with the replay tomorrow.
Okay.
That's a good offer. So that's really cool.
But if you're interested in doing this, But anyway, so you can do that, and then I'll send it out with the link tomorrow, because this is like a very specialized thing. But the other question that I had, I know we're running out of time, is if we didn't get a referral from you, would we just call consumer law attorneys and just talk to their office and see if they take FDCPA violations?
Yeah, if you can get an attorney on the line and they can tell you what they're looking for and what is of value to them and build a relationship, absolutely do that. I say every single one of us as CROs need to have an attorney or two that helps our clients.
Yeah, no, I agree. We have an FCRA attorney that he likes working with the FCRA violations, and we do give out his name and he's happy to help, but he does not do FDCPA violations. So that would be another type of another attorney. Yeah, but that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of my
Yeah.
information and my knowledge has come from attorneys, every single bit of it. You know, I used to own an attorney brokerage where we would take files from CROs and position them with attorneys. And so the attorneys over all of these years have taught me side by side exactly what makes a good case and what makes a bad case, what to say, what not to say. So everything I come to the table with is all attorney trained. I didn't just start researching. I didn't pull this out of thin air. It really is truly what the attorneys have helped me with.
And also, one of the things that I really think is amazing is the fact that these are the client actually owes this collection, but if they have a violation, the actual amount gets reduced, even if they don't get that extra compensation. Like, they have to just take off. So if they owe $3,000 and it's a valid debt, if they violate, they get that debt off, and it probably gets taken off. Yeah, so I mean, that's really the gold here to me.
It is.
Yeah.
It puts you in the driver's seat. How nice would it be for your client to say, Shar couldn't get everything removed, but she positioned me with an attorney that not only he didn't charge me anything, but he got the extra accounts removed. And that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's an amazing way to do it. I love it. I'm gonna start implementing this. I've been planning to implement all the FDCPA stuff, but I track all of the FCRA, but I'm doing it, Shar. Now I feel like I've really gotten a handle on it. Now I can do it.
I'm going to walk you through this and we're going to make you some extra money, hon.
Yeah,
We really
great.
truly are. This is, to me, a no-brainer. Literally over 60 violations in a month and a half. We're not even to the 15th of a month. If you think that even if my attorney paid $500 to my client and my client paid me $250, 68 violations at $250, you do the math.
Yeah, I mean, though, that's really amazing. And I think everybody, this is just a great stream of income, you guys, for your business. So, so
But
we're
check
gonna
your
send
states
this
and check the rules on that. And I don't want to be making everyone think that they can just go take their compensation from the consumer if it's not a rule or allowed in your state.
Yeah, they're gonna have to check with the attorney that they work with. Okay, cool. Thank you. I guess we will just put your information in the follow-up email that everybody gets tomorrow in the replay. We'll send you Shar's information. We'll send you the information on her course if you want to buy it. Definitely worth the money. I can tell you that. She's a wealth of information. And yeah, so thank you. It's 7:02, so we're 2 minutes past, and I do like to keep these on time. So we will give Shar a big hand, and thank you so much. I appreciate you